Hey, I'm Nick Williams. In this video, I'm going to go over the top 10 questions to present to your client when you're sitting down for a Medicare interview. Or a Medicare presentation. But it is an interview. So you're determining whether this person is a good prospect or a good client for you. So the objective is to ask questions that create a conversation. But all the while, these questions will also be to obtain data points so that you can make a recommendation or determine what plan is best for this particular client. So I'm just going to run down the list and tell you what the questions are and why I asked them. So, and one other thing to point out, this is the warm-up. So I think sometimes asking too many canned questions like, perhaps what's your hobby or something, that doesn't fly with me. I want to get in right out of the gate with how's your health? So that's number one. How's your health? And I think that I'm going to have some visuals here beside me. So how's your health is a fantastic opening question. It's not it's not too invasive. So that will get your client talking because seniors like to talk about their health. I don't know that they like to talk about it, but it is a conversation that they have quite frequently. Or you could just ask, are you healthy? So how's your health, or are you healthy? Either way is you want to get to you want to get them talking. And that is a very, very open-ended question because they will start talking a lot and you will have opportunities to interject a little bit. So that process of interjecting is typically, you want to stay focused and ask more questions. Now, so if you ask, how's your health? They say, I'm perfectly healthy. The next question is, so you don't take any medications? Or if there's a medical problem, do you take any medications for that problem? So that's going to be a logical progression. Again, not too invasive, and amazingly not too invasive if you think about it, because how many people would you talk to randomly and talk about their medications? But you're there about the Medicare and you are there to conduct somewhat of a fact finder, and they know this. They want you to ask questions. I have my notepad or my clipboard and I'm taking notes as I'm asking these questions. And the third question is, how often do you visit your doctor for that? Now that is a question that you could interchange that with, do you take medication for that? So it doesn't matter the order, it's just that you get to these types of questions, or not these types, these particular questions. So how often do you visit your doctor for that? If they're going once a month, that tells you something. So if they just say they have minor diabetes, they take metformin, they visit their doctor once every month, well, wait a minute. Is something else going on here? But so how often do you visit your doctor? And then I should have here in the visual for that. So again, in parentheses, because if they don't have a medical problem, you may just say, how often do you visit your doctor? That would be a normal question. And it would not be an invasive question. Remember, you're having a conversation at this point. You may already be 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in at this point. So this is not quick, just a rapid fire questions. This is a methodical progression. And you want to let the client speak and encourage them to speak. If it's husband, wife, that you wouldn't say, are you healthy? You may say, hey, are you guys healthy? If you're from Baltimore like me, you would say, use guys. But it's like, are the two of you healthy? So you have that question, and then you just go, you can work individually with them on the additional questions. Or you could say, do you guys have the same doctor? So now I'm going to move on. Whether you've addressed the medicine, the prescription question, or the doctor question, the next question is, how much does that cost you? So if it's the doctor, well, they say, well, they visit the doctor each month or once a quarter or once every 6 months. That's their primary care doctor, of course. The question is, how much does that visit cost you? And if it's your primary care doctor, now your next question is going to be, how about the specialist? Do you have to pay more when you visit a specialist? Again, this is, if you've watched my other videos about narrowing down to what plan an individual has, this is like a funnel, and you are narrowing down what coverage they have. You've not asked what plan they have. You've not talked about their insurance. You're just having a conversation. So if in fact we're going down the prescription route, you can interchange that with the prescriptions. If they tell you they take, say, metformin, or they take Januvia, or they take metoprolol, you can say, how much does that cost you? And that will tell you a lot of information. If it's $3.40, well, there's a good chance they get extra help. So you may know already, but they may not. All right, so let's move on. And another way to put that is, do you have LIS? And they may not know that, but that may be a good question to ask them. It may be a good way to ask them, because you get them saying, well, I'm not sure what that is. And that gives you a chance to kind of explain that to them. What that's low income subsidy. You explain, you get your book out, you talk about it. They may not realize that's just extra help. They may, but the benefit to you is that you can discuss qualification and talk about assets there. But let's move on. So we're really at question number 4. Although we've asked multiple questions, we're really at 4 core questions. How's your health? Do you take any medication? How often do you visit your doctor? How much does that cost you? Again, whether it's drugs or doctor. Number 5 is, who is your doctor? Do you like him? And how often do you see him? Again, we've already asked that, but it may be that again, it's not as though you're forcing the question in a sequence. You just got to cover the questions. You may want to, I'll tell you what, if you email me and request the top 10 questions, I'll send this form to you that has all these questions on the form. So, who is your doctor? Do you like him? And let's see what else. And how often do you see him? Again, if you have not already addressed that. Why would we ask, do you like him? That would tell us a lot. In the event that they need to go into a Medicare Advantage plan later in the conversation, they draw you in that direction, because you would not be talking about Medicare Advantage unless they bring it up to this point. So, but if they bring that up and you know that they've already said they love their doctor, well, you would not want to recommend a plan that doctor is not in. All right, question number 6. Have you been hospitalized recently? Or have you been hospitalized for that, which is that illness when you were talking about, are you healthy? Remember, again, we could go from are you healthy to, wow, did that put you in the hospital? Or are you healthy? Wow, what medications do you take for that? Are you healthy? Oh, great, you're perfectly healthy, so I guess you don't take any medications. And again, you'll find that they'll go, well, I do take this or that. So we've covered 6 questions. They're pretty much all interchangeable, and they all basically stem from one question: are you healthy? So it's a sequence. But if you keep asking these questions, you're going to get used to asking these questions, and you'll be able to jump around. But you will be making notes. So you have your clipboard and you're making notes as the person's speaking. Let's see, question number 7. Did you get a bill for that? That would be following the hospital stay. So no matter at what sequence the hospital stay question comes up, or if they bring it up, it's always the next question is, did you get a bill for that? And oftentimes, this would be something that the person would receive in the mail several weeks later. So I'll say that. I'll say, well, did you get a bill for that several weeks later? And see what they say. That's real important, because that will tell you, again, what plan they have potentially. It certainly would tell you whether they have a Medicare supplement versus a Medicare Advantage plan. So let's move on. Why did you choose that plan? Again, by now, they probably would have brought their plan up that they have. Up to this point, when you start talking about how much you pay for that medicine, and they talk about how much the hospital charge was or is, there's at some point in this process, their plan would have come up. And oftentimes, they'll get confused at some point, and I'll just say, go get your cards. And they'll say, well, okay, oftentimes, or I'll explain, or they'll say what cards. I'll say your Medicare card and your prescription card if you have that, whatever cards that you have. Go ahead and get those cards and bring them to me. And they'll go get the cards and bring them to you. Now, let's see. We went from why did you choose that plan? The next question is, do you like your agent? Again, the sequence doesn't matter, but the important thing is that you cover that question. Do you like your agent? And of course that's important, because if they love their agent, you're not getting anywhere. So, but that's fine. That's perfectly fine that if you don't get anywhere, because what do you do at that point? You do the transition to final expense. But before we do that, do you know, this is the last question, do you know how your plan really works? That's a good question. Do you really know how that plan works? And oftentimes, if they have a plan, I'll ask different types of questions until they get kind of lost. Because if you just ask, are you happy with that plan? They'll say yes. If you just say, do you know how that plan works? They'll say yes. But if you ask a bunch of questions and keep asking them, well, how much if you go to hospital? How much for your specialist? How much are your generic or name brand? How much is it if you have outpatient surgery? At some point, they're going to go, I just don't know. Here's where you say, well, when they act confused, do you actually know how the plan works? And then you can say, well, let me see your card and I'll show you how, so I can see what plan you have, and I'll explain to you exactly how it works. So those are 10 questions that can be put in any order that will tell you what the client has as far as coverage now, that will tell you how to proceed and what you should do, or that you even have a prospect for a Medicare sale at all. So again, the important thing is that we stay compliant and that if there is a transition, because oftentimes this will transition to Medicare Advantage, and understand that's 40% of the market nearly throughout America, and at least 35%. So you're going to get transitions to Medicare Advantage, and you need to do that properly. But now let's talk real fast. One final point. If they love their agent, they love their plan, you have not presented anything, you have not burned any bridges, you have not tried to close them on something, tried to sell them something that was never going to work anyhow. Instead, now you have a relationship that you can pivot off to other plans. And we'll talk about that in an upcoming video here in this series of, shall we call it whiteboard, without the whiteboard actually being in play. Talk to you later.